Each one of you who's tuned in today must feel the growing frustration of your daily commute. It's really no secret, is it, that the traffic in every Indian city is growing at breakneck speed, and no amount of road infrastructure or flyovers are able to keep pace with it. Well, if you look at the numbers, you'll know why. It took 60 years, from 1952 to 2008, for the number of registered vehicles in the country to reach 105 million. And how long did it take for us to add the next 105 million? Just 6 years, between 2009 and 2015. This unprecedented motorization of India and the steep increase in toxic health damaging emissions is what the Center for Science and Environment, CSE, the New Delhi-based think tank, has studied. Today on Urban Reality, we decode the Urban Commute report of CSE with our guest to find out why this is an urgent wake-up call for all of us. I have with me today Anumita Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director, Center for Science and Environment. Also joining us from Bengaluru, because it is a 14-city report and Bengaluru is big on our focus today. We have Ashish Verma, Associate Professor, Transportation Systems Engineering, Indian Institute of Science. Also joining us from Hyderabad is Karuna Gopalan, President, Foundation for Futuristic Cities, and Prarthana Bora, Clean Air Asia's India Director. All of you, a pleasure to have you with us. Of course, we'll keep flashing the reports of these 14 cities. And right up front, the most obvious finding is that Delhi is the most polluted, but no surprises there. I think, Anumita, my first question to you is that other than Bhopal, which is a very low density city, right, and therefore probably just made it to one of the best, exactly, the rest of them, if I read your report carefully, all of them seem to be sitting on a ticking time bomb. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And what is very clear from the report, that the mega cities are worse than metropolitan cities, no brainer, because
of course,
because the lower volume of travel and they have less number of vehicles. But what I would really like to highlight, and they're the big messages from these 3 mega cities or 4 mega cities. Okay. One, the Delhi, which you've seen is the worst. But the paradox of Delhi is that even though Delhi has better public transport share compared to, say, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, okay, or even lesser number of trips and shorter trips, right? Even then, Delhi has come out to be the worst, mainly because of the sheer volume of travel, sheer volume of vehicles, right?
Highest number of privately registered vehicles.
So when you're talking about 10 million vehicles in Delhi, in other cities you're talking about 3, 4, 5 million vehicals. So the staggering numbers.
So Delhi Metro, fantastic, but is not really helping.
Because you have just not planned, and no policymaker ever asks while making any plan that how many trips have I have to cater to with public transport? How much distance do they cover? How many kilometers do the vehicles do? Because it's not enough to say that we have got 10 million vehicles. The 10 million vehicles, if the distance, if a city is very sprawled,
like
right,
NCR
Delhi,
is,
right?
Right,
then the 10 million vehicles are also doing so much more kilometers. In fact, in Delhi, we are generating at least 10 to 20 million more trips per day compared to Kolkata or Mumbai.
Are you saying 10 to 20 million
absolute trips
more per day?
Per day.
Then
exactly.
Wow. Then any other city or
yes,
Kolkata?
I mean, like mainly Kolkata.
Mainly Kolkata.
And then
okay.
Right?
Oh,
so
wow.
just imagine, therefore, I mean, then when you really have to cater to that kind of demand, and if your public transport, walking, cycling facilities are so inadequate, then you are just locking in enormous pollution. And this is also, so therefore, this is the function, the numbers are therefore directly related, not only just affluence in the city, because that's the message from Mumbai. Mumbai has got highest per capita GDP, but lowest usage of personal transport. Okay?
Okay, important.
Among the
let me repeat this. You're saying that ownership of private vehicle is not related to wealth of a city. Mumbai, having the highest GDP per capita, has the highest use of public transport.
Absolutely.
Very interesting fact. Okay.
Similarly, Kolkata. Okay, and that's in Kolkata, the message is, and the reason why they have topped is the compactness of the city. Okay, that they have not allowed the city to sprawl. So the real Kolkata today, the shortest travel distance,
because the economic activity has not been that rapid.
It's not maybe there is an outer growth, but if you really look, so the suburban growth has happened. But if you really look at the Kolkata and the compactness of the city's design, okay, that's much more sensibly designed. In fact, today, India's new policy on transit-oriented development are actually asking for that kind of urban design.
All right. Very interesting to know that Kolkata actually ranks better than all other cities.
Kolkata has also got the maximum diverse public transport system. No other city has that.
Still exists.
Trams, suburban rail, waterways, metro, buses, now electric buses coming. No other city can boast of such diverse systems of public transport in this country today.
All right, Kolkata definitely top that list amongst the 6 mega cities. For now, Delhi at the bottom. Chennai and Bengaluru, though, better today in terms of private vehicles on the road, but at a very tough or difficult tipping point with higher trip rates and length. Likely to get far worse than Delhi. Ashish, my question to you is, are Bangalore urban planners and the authorities aware of this? Are they taking any steps?
Yeah, thanks, Manisha. Firstly, congratulations to CSE for coming up with this very timely report. In Bangalore, while there has been discussion and also focus on augmenting public transport, improving number of buses and have more metro rail lines, etc. But the undercurrents of an aspiring society, a society which aspires to own and use a car, is so high that it actually overpowers everything. In the recent time, we have been seeing announcement of 102 kilometers of elevated road corridors, crisscrossing Bangalore city at a whooping cost of some 30,000 crores and so on, which has been announced in the budget by the recent government, and they are now hell bent on executing it. When you bring these kind of massive road-based projects, they are only going to encourage both ownership and usage of personalized vehicles, especially cars and two-wheelers, which is only going to increase the total vehicle kilometers traveled by these motorized modes, which are predominantly running on fossil fuel.
Okay.
So you are doing nothing but increasing the total exhaust emissions from the vehicles by having such kind of measures. Ideally, the city should look at measures which will on one side encourage the sustainable modes, which is public transport and walking and cycling. A city like Bangalore should have at least 80% modal share of public transport and non-motorized transport together, which is almost 20% less presently.
All right. Okay, Ashish, you've raised very important 80%. Points. Let me also get other opinions now. Karuna Gopalan, 102 kilometers elevated road announced in the budget. We all know what's happening in Bengaluru and southern cities. Hyderabad, the city that you are speaking to us from, I mean, the entire Gachibowli comes to a standstill between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Traffic crawls there. People have to commute for a livelihood. And my question is, there seems to be a chicken and an egg sort of discussion, because there simply isn't enough public infrastructure in any city of India.
Absolutely. See, Hyderabad is absolutely no exception at all. I mean, wrong planning and wrong investments. I don't know if you've read this report about Hyderabad planning more number of roads. Like, we have a very grandiose plan called SRDP, Strategic Road Development Plan. So, notwithstanding the fact that public transportation is the most important way to move people around, I think my city is again going back to the archaic ways of, building roads again. So more number of flyovers, so more cars to move there, so more private vehicles, again less importance given to the private, public transportation. The city is actually regressing, and there's not much of activism around this. So obviously the government has taken a unilateral decision and just moving forward with this pretty pathetic plan, I can say. So,
okay. So
that's where we are today.
Back to building roads. Now, again, this is a big question. Citizens who vote say we need roads. We also have new cities like Gurgaon, now Rajarhat in Kolkata, which your report highlighted, which have no walkways, no pathways. How do you really bring about a balance between green mobility and bring down, you know, you have international cities like Vienna which are going back to biking, but in India we seem to be grappling with just basic commute issues. How are we going to, you know, leapfrog, Anumita?
Absolutely. So what we really require today, that we need very strong and urgent intervention. One, the last mile of our travel and the first mile of the travel will really have to be improved. So which means, so you may invest in metro, you may invest in a very high, good public transit system, but if that system is not accessible, then I'm not going to use it. So that's one very important area of intervention. Second intervention is, like everyone is talking about building more roads, right? Because most cities are fixated on that, right? Now, but today the road design is oriented only to give priority and to facilitate movement of the vehicle.
Absolutely.
Right? Not for the movement of the people. Now, if we don't change that around, then we'll never be able to reverse the trend. And thirdly, the policies will now have to make the car owners pay the right price for using the road and using public space for parking. Because if that remains completely subsidized and free for people, then whatever you may do, because then the cost of using public transport will always remain higher than use of using personal transport.
My goodness.
So if the economics cannot be fixed, then whatever you may do. So how to provide scaled up, modernized, but affordable public transport services, which is very accessible for everyone in the city. That's what we really have to focus on.
Okay.
But reduce distances. So today what we are saying, whenever we are making a transit line, you do the development around the transit line in such a way that more and more people can come and live close to that line, and then you make it more and more accessible, give lovely walking ways and everything.
It's a whole larger debate and discussion on transit-oriented development. I mean, we've simply not been able to implement that policy across any big city, but that's a larger question. Let me come to Pratna Bora. Pratna, you heard all the experts. Now, what is shocking is that the number of cars keep increasing. Number of vehicles keep increasing, and now motor vehicles have become the third largest polluter when it comes to greenhouse emissions. This is really worrying for all cities which are grappling with air pollution issues. I mean, look at Delhi. The entire benefit of either CNG or metro is washed out completely.
I think mobility, and especially sustainable mobility itself, is not as simplistic as it's made out to be, and I think it needs to be dealt with in an integrated manner. So what is it that will promote this transition to public transportation or to non-motorized transport? It's availability of a good public transportation system. It's the way a city is designed, in the sense that, accessibility to places that you need to go to. I mean, it's crazy. In a city like Delhi, you need to pick up your vehicle to just, go out to the neighborhood food store, because you just don't have a walkway, or you just don't feel like walking because you don't have a pavement. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that I think we need behavioral change. I think the transition to public transportation is a cultural thing. If you look at the results of the CSE report, Kolkata is traditionally a bus and walking city. And it has been, people have cycled. Of course, the compact nature, as Anumita said, is the reason why you could do that. But traditionally, it's also an acceptable mode of walking. And if you look at, cities around the world, it's because everyone uses public transport. I'm not sure if the answer is introducing buses in a city like Delhi, because I'm wondering whether people who are using cars will shift to the buses, or it is just the people who are using the metros. So I think there is also that angle that we really need to look at to make public transportation and non-motorized transport acceptable.
I think cultural shift, Pratna, that you've spoken about, Ashish has spoken about, you know, it's aspirational to buy a vehicle in India. You move from a cycle to a scooter to a motorbike to a affordable car to a luxury car. That is the pyramid of your movement. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers. Indians buy 3 million cars, 15 million bikes and scooters, and some 8 lakh buses and trucks a year. And at one point, we did get the sense from a high-powered minister that the government was aiming by 2030, India could become 100% electric vehicle EV nation. But there was a U-turn on that, and they said, look, we're not going to come out with a policy right now. Well, the channel caught up with Amitabh Kant, CEO of Niti Aayog, and he had some views on the move to cleaner mobility, saying that the conversation has to start first with two-wheelers into electric. Let's hear him out.
The challenge for India is really to push that we are able to convert all our two-wheelers into electric, and even if you are able to do batteries on them and they are able to go about 100 odd kilometers and then do slow charge at home, you would have transformed India. And push for battery, and on three-wheelers, if we are able to do battery swapping, that will be a big thing. And for buses, to my mind, you know, within the cities, you need a cleaner form of gas and CNG, and for movement from city to city, you need to push for LNG. And once you've done that, and then push for sharing and connected mobility on the four-wheelers. Government would like to support two-wheelers, the government would like to support three-wheelers, and the government would like, definitely, this is something which is very easily doable, and the government would like to push for technological disruption so that people move towards a sharing and a connected world as far as, and that's something which will be good for the society. So we need to look at the impact in terms of pollution, we need to look at it in terms of technology, and we need to push for both.
We're going to decode what Mr. Amitabh Kant has said right after the break, because the government needs to support three-wheelers, two-wheelers, also look at pollution. There were a lot of messages there, but how do we prioritize our move to green mobility and reducing motorized commuting on Indian cities is something we're going to talk about when we come back.